Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a variant of the Rolex Datejust that arrived in 2021. This is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 126234 in 904L steel with white gold bezel, but it is the palm dial that defines this watch, and we'll talk about it shortly. Let's talk about size. This is the standard 36mm Datejust, the size since the original of 1945 that has defined the standard Datejust collection. In thickness, it measures 11.7 millimeters. From lug to lug, it is 43.4 millimeters, and from end link to end link across the wrist, it is 45.3 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll open up the clasp, throw it on my wrist. The wrist wears it easily. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and I think you could confidently wear this watch on a wrist as small as 13 centimeters in circumference. It's fairly flat. The bezel is domed. You can see the lugs come nowhere near the edge of my wrist, so this will slide underneath the cuff, and it'll fit a broad range of wrists, including smaller wrists. The timepiece includes an Oyster-style bracelet, and this is a good time to mention that Rolex makes its own cases, clasps, and bracelets. Yes, it makes its own dials and movements as well, but speaking of the metal that makes up these cases, clasps, and bracelets, the bracelet, case, and clasp are made of 904L steel. This is a steel that is more resistant to tarnishing and oxidizing. You do not need to rinse it after seawater exposure, which is rare in the watch industry. The bezel is made of gray gold, which is a special white gold alloy that's white all the way through and never needs to be plated with rhodium. The bracelet includes a conforming end link to appear more integrated into the case. There's a little bit of a taper. The polished center contrasts with the satin shoulders. The outermost faces are polished. You can see that there are removable links fixed by screws and that there are enough of them that you should be able to size accurately. The clasp features a combination of satin and polished, and you can see it as a lift lock system. You actually have to lift and unlatch it. There's a beak and a hook, and then there's a spring-loaded lever action that closes it and secures it, so it's not simply a friction fit clasp. Internally, it's polished. Again, for sizing, you've got a easy link, quick release, tool-free, in and out 5mm adjustment, the equivalent of adding or removing one sizable link. But then if you look inside the clasp, you can also see that there are some divots drilled inside the clasp. There's 3 of them. So using your strap tool, you can move the spring bar and change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside the clasp. The case is elegant, graceful, polished, tapered, and handsome. We have a bezel that twinkles like a cut gem. This one never refinished, is razor sharp as the day it left Geneva, and again, it is gray gold, which means it never needs to be replated to attain this color. There's a very subtle contrast between the warmth of the bezel and the cooler silver shine of the case. Speaking of which, it is an Oyster case, solid case back, screwed in, twin lock, screw down crown, 100 meters water resistant. The logo, the hands, and the indices are also white gold because these features do not tarnish, oxidize, or discolor over time, and that's very important on a dial. Turning the light off real quick, you can see Rolex's proprietary Chromolite blue lume, and it is abundantly legible. The dial base is metallic green. Green has long been the signature Rolex color. You see it on many Rolex watches, even prior to the current voguish era of green dials. Rolex always used green on its watches. It also uses it inside its dealers. As you'll see, the decor of Rolex dealers, which is dictated by Rolex Corporate, always includes a lot of Rolex Corporate green. We have a sapphire crystal. We have a sapphire Cyclops eye magnifier. The watch does include both hacking seconds and a quick set date. And inside we have next generation Rolex manufacturer automatic caliber 3235 bidirectional automatic winding. It has a 70-hour power reserve. It beats away at 8 beats per second. It pivots on 31 joules. It has a full balance bridge and a free spring index, plus a winding rotor bearing rather than the older jeweled staff. All those features contributing to shock tolerance. The 31 joule movement includes a handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring that helps the watch to fare better in the multi-position testing of the COSC chronometer test, which this movement passes. But then that hairspring also has a blue oxidized niobium zirconium alloy called Parachrom Blue that is hugely anti-magnetic. Rolex takes the fully cased up watch, not the bare movement, and tests it in 6 positions to run no worse than -2 plus 2 seconds per 24 hours. And that is the basis for the term superlative chronometer on the dial. It did not always mean anything through the years. Today it has a very concrete meaning. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.